Hey everybody, it's Dr. Kate Walker, and I'm going to talk to you today about how and why you should start a blog. I'll give people a few minutes to join, and then I will hit the pause button. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see if we're actually live. Yay. All right. We got some watchers. I may be one of them, but that's okay. So I'll take my glasses off for a second. Welcome to the Step It Up group weekly training. And as a member of the Step It Up community, you get access to the free training. If you're watching this on a replay, bless you. You're spending time out of your day trying to up your practice. That is wonderful. I'm Dr. Kate Walker, and this is also part of Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses, because you are a badass and you are trying to create a badass business. So with this training, I'll be screen sharing. I'm going to show you some examples. I have my water handy because apparently I have a little frog in my throat. So I'll try to take care of that during this session too. So let me first tell you, what I want you to get out of this today is an understanding about sort of blogging is social media. And if you watched last week, or if you listened to the episode last week, I talked about how best practices for social media are starting to evolve, even if there aren't rules in place here in Texas, which, they're coming. But rules tend to wait on people to mess up, right? So when complaints are filed, when problems arise, then they can look at precedent, they can look at the data, and they can say, here's where the problem is. Let's create a rule to address that. That doesn't mean you as John Q. Public or Jane Q. Public can't propose a rule. You absolutely can. It will go through the board's rules committee, excuse me. So sorry, thought I muted that. And it will be addressed in the rules committee, and they'll come up with something. So if you're interested in the best practices of social media, grab that episode, take a listen. What I'm going to talk to you about today, though, is why you should have a blog. And then if you're interested, how to start a blog. And then I'm going to give you some examples of how a blog can help SEO, search engine optimization. Right. So number one, a blog can help you sort of get your message out there. Now, I'm going to put a caveat on there. I got some notes here. I have some notes here. You can use a blog to educate clients and potential clients. So when I talk about the 10-minute consultation, and again, if you aren't familiar with that, go to my YouTube channel or check out the podcast. I talk about, actually, if you're a Step It Up member, it's also in your Step It Up profile. When you're educating a potential client, you're also creating a raving fan. This raving fan is going to tell the community about the resources you have. And that means you are so much more than just a therapist. You are so much more than just a counselor. In that moment, with that potential client, you're actually helping them solve a problem. That's a pain point. They're struggling with something. They're reaching out. They made the call to you, and you're going to say, hey, we're a great fit for my cost, schedule, and specialty. Or, yeah, we're not going to be a great fit, but here are some great resources. And I've talked to folks, especially those of you who've taken the Badass Basics course, about creating a free resources page on your website. You send potential clients to that free resources page. You have created a fan. You've created a fan that's going to tell other people in the community about you. And this helps to position your brand, which you are your brand, as an expert in the community. So with that influence comes great responsibility. That's where your blog comes in. Your blog can really show your community where you shine. Where is your expertise? Now, I've told the story before about how I'm sitting in my office as a brand new therapist, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why are all of these couples coming in suffering with infidelity? Well, obviously, not to me at the time. They noticed my license is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and that showed me, okay, I've done the bare minimum to get my license in the state of Texas as a licensed marriage and family therapist. But what it told me is, oh my goodness, I need more training. And so I went out and got more training with couples, with working with infidelity. And with that training, I produced more content. I produced blogs, I produced videos, I produced little FAQ, downloadable PDFs that people could have. And those resources informed my community. Did everyone in my community, become my client? No, of course not. That's not what I wanted it for. That's not why I created that information. I created it so that somebody could hit print, download it, and hand it discreetly to their niece or nephew. They could hand the link off or text it to their friend who just discovered, their partner's texts to their paramour on, their phone, right? It was a way to make and help my community help each other, right? I created great content that was actually shareable. Now, back when I started blogging, social media wasn't quite what it is now, but now we know when you create content that is shareable, what you're really doing is you're empowering the person who shares it to feel important, to feel helpful. And we all want to feel that. We all want to feel important and helpful, like we are part of the solution, right? We're not just over here gossiping about our neighbor. We're saying, oh, hey, look, here's a text, here's a link to this great resource. It's not, hey, you need some therapy, and I know somebody. It's, hey, here's a PDF about what I think you guys are going through right now. So, and there's a phone number on the bottom if you'd like to actually reach out. So when you think about your blog, it becomes part of your arsenal of resources that will be extremely shareable and educate your community. Remember, I want you to save the world with better therapy. You got a master's degree, you passed the exams, you took the licensing exam, you did the 3,000 hours plus of supervision, you probably got special training. You are an expert in your community. And what the blog will do is educate clients and potential clients about the process of therapy. Now, I'm not going to talk about courses, building online courses today. I will do that in the future. But last week, I co-hosted the Get Shit Done retreat in Austin, Texas, with the amazing Cindy Doyle. And one of our participants is a play therapist. And she's looking at this idea of educating, right? And she's thinking about, okay, well, I've usually got a waiting list. And what if I could send people information and educate them about play therapy while they're sitting on my waiting list? And they could, right? So I'm going to step back again and just say, as someone who, was new to the counseling field, 20 years ago, I had friends who were like, I'm taking my kids to a therapist. And, but every time I take them to one, all the therapist does is play with them. I'm not going to pay good money just to have the therapist, play cards with my kid. Imagine if you could create a series of blog posts that you emailed your potential clients who were sitting on waiting lists, that gave them tools and strategies and scenarios. I mean, you could educate current clients, almost clients, not quite clients. You could really make a difference in your community. And all of these blog posts can turn into something bigger, right? It can turn into a course. Heck, it could even turn into a book, right? I know when I wrote my book, My Next Steps, Create a Counseling Career You'll Love, my book coach, the first thing she said was, I want you to download all of your blogs, right? And I did. So I downloaded all the blogs, and lo and behold, we had a book. So little 300 to 600 to 900 word max, maybe, blog post is what we're talking about. A blog will showcase your personality. I know we talked about at the GSD last week, and what's the difference between a blog and a vlog, right? A VLOG. And so a vlog is more of just kind of a chronicle of your life, where you have your phone and like, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm doing with my day. You don't really see that as much anymore. So what the blog can do is help people understand your voice. I know when I blog, I use a very casual tone, compared to if I'm co-authoring a journal article or a chapter in a textbook, right? I'm going to take a very formal voice there. In my blog, I can be I can tell stories in my blog. I can use slang in my blog. I can try to be more relatable in my blog. And if I want to accompany that with a video or a podcast of, my image or my voice, now my potential client is able to form an emotional attachment to me. And I don't mean attachment in the bad way. I just mean an attachment as to it's building trust, right? Again, I'm positioning my brand, which is me, as an expert in the community, which simply means I am creating content that makes me trustworthy, that makes me share worthy. Okay. I want to be shareable because the information I'm providing is data driven. The information I'm providing has been researched. The information I'm providing is mine, right? I'm not just grabbing stuff from other people, or if I do, I cite them appropriately. I'm not just going to Chat GPT or, another, artificial intelligence and clicking, tell me 3 things that I can put in a blog about da-da-da, right? Those are jumping off points, and I love Chat GPT, and I'm happy to do an entire training about that. But that's not your voice, right? You don't know whose voice that is. And besides that, it's only grabbing information from 2021 and before. So you still, when you blog, are emphasizing your voice, your personality, so that clients are able to say, yeah, I found this great resource, or I heard this person speak, and now I've gone to their blog, and oh my gosh, yes, this person is somebody that I'm willing to spend my money, my time, even my reputation, if I refer that name out, right? Because people want to be helpful. They don't want the people they refer you to or refer to you to come back and say, oh my gosh, it was terrible. They don't know what they're talking about, right? Your blog is going to establish your credibility and your voice. So let's talk about the how a little bit, because the third thing, the other reason I highly encourage you to do a blog is search engine optimization. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the back office of my blog. And if you're listening to this as a podcast episode, don't worry, I'm going to talk through everything that I show. So here we go. Let me first get the website up there. And remember, Step It Uppers, you can always join these trainings live, right? The Zoom link is in 2 places. Facebookers, the Zoom link is on this Facebook page, right up here in the pinned posts. And you can tell folks who aren't on Facebook that the Zoom link is in their Kate Walker Training profile in that module called One Start Here. And when you click on that, you're able to find the Zoom link. It never changes. It's for our weekly training. And if you'd like to join it live and so you can ask questions, I'm happy to have you. So let me share my screen. So what you're looking at is my website. So for those of you who are listening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, I'm in the back office of my website. So number one, I want you to stop and think, do I have access to my back office, right? If you have a website and you don't have access to the back office, that's a whole other can of worms. And so I highly encourage you to ask your web designer if you have access to the back office. Now, I don't get paid by WordPress, but I'm going to recommend WordPress. WordPress started out as a blog. Back in the day before the internet was invented, we wrote blogs and, I guess we called them journals. I don't know newsletters anyway. So WordPress started their existence as a blog. So I like WordPress. I feel like it's kind of cool. It's optimized for, search engine optimization, and I'll show you that as well. So when I go to the back office, let me find my posts, all posts, and I'm going to click on one of the blogs we just posted called Who is Responsible for Client Records? It's going to take a second. So who is responsible for client records? So the back office, you see that it starts with a paragraph. We've got a couple of commercials in there. We have some, we call these H2 headings. An H2 heading just means they're bigger, they stand out. And we have usually four of those H2 headings, and closing another commercial, which the commercial is just a graphic, right, that we create in a program called Canva. And then the graphic is linked to something else, usually something we're promoting that month. So I'm promoting the webinars. We have the 2023 Group Practice Summit coming up at the end of May. So I'm doing a lot of promotion of that. That's our free webinar, 9 free CEs when you attend live. And this is really cool here, and I'll describe it to you. It's called Yoast, YOAST, SEO Premium. Now, Yoast is a feature with WordPress. With Squarespace and other website designers or website hosts, you might get something different. So I'm going to walk you through what Yoast can do. So when you look at Yoast, you see that it asks for a key phrase. The key phrase means this is what we want to rank for. So when people type in their browser, who is responsible for client records, we want this article to come up first. We want it to come up number 1, number 2, but really we want number 1. And so Yoast says, okay, I hear you. I will help you rank for this key phrase, who is responsible for client records. But you got to follow a few rules. What are those rules? I'm not an SEO expert. I need help. And Yoast says, no problem, I got you. So when we go down here and we look at the analysis of this keyword, who is responsible for client records, what you'll see is that Yoast gives me these green lights every time I do something in my blog that means I'm optimizing it for the search engine. And the search engine I'm using is Chrome. So if I opened this on Safari, or if I opened this on something else, it would hopefully be the same. Yoast isn't going to, change because of that, right? Or Bing might be a little bit different. But so whatever the search engine is, Yoast is going to hold my hand and say, do you have the key phrase? Remember what the key phrase was, right? Let's go back up here. The focus key phrase is who is responsible for client records. It wants me to put that key phrase in the image. It wants me to add internal links to other articles that I wrote. It wants the key phrase in the introduction. It wants the key phrase distributed evenly throughout the blog. It wants the key phrase in the title. It wants the key phrase to be a certain length. It wants the key phrase in the meta description. So it's checking about, 20 or 30 things here that I would have no idea to check, right? I didn't take the class. I didn't get the CE. And so when I use WordPress and Yoast SEO Premium, all I really have to do is come up with the focus key phrase. Now, let's talk about that real quick. How do we know what to write about? And if you've heard me talk about this before, you know there are a couple ways to do this, right? You can say, oh, my backyard is so beautiful. I think I would like to write about cardinals sitting on my bird feeder with bougainvillea that look like they need watering. Or I could go see what people are actually searching for, right? And there are lots of ways to do that. You can get tools like Keywords Everywhere or Uber Suggest, or you can just do something super simple and type in, oh gosh, I wonder if there's an article about how to manage client records, right? And if you look and there isn't one, that can be good news or bad news, right? Good news is, oh, you'll be the first, yay. It could be bad news because nobody's really looking for that. So when you think about your counseling practice, number one, start with your specialty. If your specialty is recovery after divorce, or let me use that in a different way. Let's say addiction recovery no, let me back up. Sorry, scratch that. Let's go with your specialty is addiction. Just period. Your specialty is addiction. You want to write a blog about addiction recovery. You Google it and you're like, oh, wow, there's like 1 billion articles about addiction recovery. I don't know how I'm ever going to rank for that. But you start thinking, what about addiction recovery after divorce? Well, there aren't many articles about that. How about addiction recovery after divorce over Valentine's Day? Now this is the kicker, in your community, in Louisville, Texas, in El Paso, Texas, in Corpus Christi, Texas. So what you've done now is you have almost like ringing a dinner bell, right? You have told the web crawlers, look at what I have. I'm not just another article about recovery or addiction. I am specifically about this. And oh, by the way, I'm going to throw in my location. So if somebody types in addiction recovery over the holidays near me, right? Because Google knows where we all live now. You have a really good shot at having your blog primarily, show up in the search engines, hopefully on the first page. So this blog has only been posted for about a week, my blog, who is responsible for client records. And I'm just going to see where I show up today. I'm going to take that title and I'm going to put responsible. I don't want to put it exactly, but I could. Client records. Let's see. I should have some music. Nope, I'm not showing up yet on the first page. Let's see if I put in Texas, if I show up. Not yet. Okay, well, it's only been a week, so I should do a follow-up to this. And then if I put in the entire focus keyword verbatim, who is responsible for client records, yep, not showing up yet. Or am I? No, not yet. So I'll give it about a week. And if I go in there and it's still not ranking for what I want it to, I can always rework my blog. That's the beauty of search engine optimization. When you have a blog and it has the content that you want, and you recognize, oh, it's still not being crawled like I need it to. There are lots of tools out there. Google Search Console. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on them, but lots of tools out there so that you can start to go in and rework the language in your blog. I know I've learned so much about blogs this past year. I'm going through lots of my blogs and reworking them so that, they're showing up higher in the search engine. And remember that call to action at the end. When you finish your blog, have a call to action. If you want folks to schedule a 10-minute consultation with you, create something in Canva that's beautiful and that's eye-catching with a big old button that says, click this, to schedule your 10-minute consultation. If you want your call to action to be buy my book or download this resource, right? Whatever your goal is, make sure your call to action at the end of that blog relates to that and relates to your key phrase, right? Don't have a call to action that has nothing to do with your key phrase. You can come up with lots of call to action. That's up to you. All right, we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to check and see if we have any questions. And I see Jocelyn. Jocelyn wants to know, do you recommend this to someone whose copywriting is not their strongest suit? Yes. And here's why, Jocelyn. When you think about writing, you want to write about the level of 6th grade to 8th grade. You want this to be something that is, in fact, I didn't even talk about, and if you saw my screen share, there was another little metric there called readability. And I'm terrible at readability, and I need to get better. So it's something that if you've got a program like this, it can help you actually write to that level. Most of us, honestly, Jocelyn, get stuck with writer's block. And so we're pretty good writers. We're great communicators because we're counselors. So what I would encourage you to do is to either, get a writing partner, even somebody like, your partner, and you might say, okay, what's the first thing you think of when you think about addiction recovery over the holidays? Another thing you can do is get something like Chat GPT or that AI, the artificial intelligence. Just put in there, I'm stuck. You could type in, addiction recovery over the holidays, 3 things everybody should know. Again, don't just copy paste, make sure it's your words. And then finally, it's kind of formulaic, right? If you listen to podcasts like Pat Flynn, the Smart Passive Income, Jenny Melrose, who talks about blogging, there's a formula to it. In fact, I go back and read my blogs now, and it's like, oh my gosh, this really doesn't sound like me. But you have to remember, I'm writing for a different purpose than writing to a potential client. Although I got to say, if I want to get found, I'm probably going to have to stick to what Google wants. So anyway, long and short, that was way too long of an answer, Jocelyn. Definitely try it first before you hire it out. Really just try a couple of blogs on, see how they do, and really try to follow the formula. And if you have WordPress, get Yoast. If you have Squarespace, find whatever comparable program or plugin that has. And then Olivia, hello, it's good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. All right, any other questions? Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Kate Walker. This is the Step It Up weekly training. And this is also Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses, because this will become a blog. This will become a podcast. And gosh, wouldn't you like to know more about how to repurpose content for all of that information, all of that stuff to get you out there so that folks can find you because you're awesome and you have a lot to offer. And we're closing the gaps to access to care in rural Texas and underserved Texas. So get those blogs going. All right, guys, have a great day.